What's up, man? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
Good.
Good. How was training?
Good. Just brought my buddy to the gym, did a little warm up with him. He's getting ready to spar.
Yeah.
I'm at Extreme Couture right now.
Okay. So, how did you enjoy the Fight Island experience?
The Fight Island experience for me was pretty quick. I mean, I was there, I quarantined, I made weight, and then I fought the next day. So, I mean, I was in and out. I didn't really get to experience a lot of the stuff on the island that a lot of other people did. So, it was a quick trip for me, just being that I was a last minute call.
Yeah. So obviously you took your fight against Jimmie Rivera quite late notice. I think it was a week's notice, wasn't it?
Yeah, 7 days. Exactly. I signed the contract.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the weight cut like going in? Because obviously you probably had quite a lot of weight to cut.
At 45, it wasn't too bad. You know, I just fought at 45. I just made the weight, so the weight cut wasn't terrible. It was more of the travel that kind of kicked my ass.
Yeah.
The 15-hour flight, and then the 11-hour time difference was really, really hard. I was like falling asleep before the fight. I just hadn't slept that night. It was that part was brutal. You know what I mean? You really do need to get there a little bit early if you want to, compete at a higher level.
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned that you've fought your last two fights at featherweight as well. Why is the reason for that? Is that just because it's been more short notice fights?
Yeah, so 2 weeks and 1 week in my last two fights. The one in June, I had a pretty good idea that I was fighting. I was going to be fighting in June, so that was a little bit different. This fight, however, came out of nowhere. When Adrian Williams tested positive, I was back in the. I just got back to Vegas. I just kind of got back to training a little bit after my last fight. After healing up a few little injuries, so I wasn't really as prepared as I would like to be. But I was, hoping that Jimmie was kind of feeling the same way and that it would still be competitive. And the fight was real competitive. But I mean, all in all, if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have taken that fight.
Yeah.
On that short notice.
What was sort of your mentality and motivation like accepting the fight on that? Obviously, just coming off a month away from your last fight.
Well, I mean, the UFC needs fighters. They need ranked guys to fight. Jimmie is a guy I've been looking at for a long time. So there was a lot of plus side. You know what I mean? But ultimately, the motivation was, I wanted to do the right thing by the UFC. Be a guy that was willing to fight, whenever they called me.
Mm-hmm. So you put a post out the other day on Instagram about that you just come off a bender. You're obviously having personal issues with your family. You were saying you weren't very sharp, you weren't hungry for it. So how do you think that affected your performance?
Yeah, normally when I'm in the cage, I can always find a way to win. I've really only lost ever to, Aljamain Sterling prior to that Jimmie Rivera fight.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of found a way to win. In that fight, I just never really found that dog. I never really found that next gear that I needed to, push the pace and win the fight.
Yeah.
Although honestly going into the third round, I thought it was 1-1. In the third round, in my head, I thought I was winning. When I went back and watched it, it was really back and forth, and a lot of the exchanges, I'd hit him, but I was the one that was moving back out of the pocket, and he was kind of standing his ground. So, if you get a really close fight like that, you're the guy that's moving backwards. It's not a good look for you. And I when you're in the cage, you can't really tell what's going on. I knew it was close, but I wasn't sure. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure. At the end of the fight, I was asking my coaches whether I won or not. I really didn't know. And then going back and rewatching it, I definitely thought it was a lot closer than what maybe the commentators and the significant strike count was telling. I thought it was a lot closer. Just because I'm in those exchanges. When you see a lot of the exchanges, I am landing shots. It just looks bad because he's the one throwing the harder shots, and I'm the one going backwards.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was agreeing with all the commentators saying about like you were very evenly matched with everything, but going in before the fight, they were saying like you were ranked number 9, he was ranked number 8, like everything between you both, or you were evenly matched with everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stylistically, Jimmie's a tough guy to beat. Not a lot of guys have beat him, and he was probably winning most of the fight against the current champ Peter Yan, and that was his fight before me. So I knew I was fighting one of the top 5 best guys in the world.
Yeah, definitely. So you've now fought twice in this coronavirus period, and obviously you've had to do the test. And how was that? How was it doing that? Did you find it all right, or?
It's just another element of BS that the UFC's got to do to protect us. I didn't have any issues with the testing. The quarantining and stuff, obviously that's not fun. That part of the deal is hard, and then the training, you got to work a lot harder just to get the same training that you were getting before. But it's manageable, you know what I mean? Like, we're fighters, we're kind of made to battle that kind of adversity. So, I was really confident in the UFC's ability to keep us safe during all the shit that's happening. So I mean, they did a good job. They did everything they could to make sure that we were fighting in a safe environment for sure. Yeah,
definitely. Which test did you choose to do? Was it the nose or the throat one?
I did the throat one, and I gagged every time. I almost threw up almost every time I did it. And I think I took like 7 tests over the last 6 weeks. So 7 COVID tests in 6 weeks. It's crazy, and as nasty as this stuff is, I was actually happy to be getting tested.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So obviously coming off a loss, is there anyone in the division that you look at as a good potential fight, next fight?
Whether I won or lost, you fight one of the best guys in the world, and you're not necessarily mentally in it, and you're definitely not in the physical condition that you should be if you're getting in a fight like that. I look at it like it was just like a stepping stone. I think in the longevity of my career, I'm not sure that this will be much of a loss. To me, I know that I'm one of the best guys in the world, and I'm working hard, and I'm always getting better. So, I'd be willing to fight anyone. You know what I mean? Above me, below me, it wouldn't really matter. I'm prepared to fight any guy, anywhere, anytime. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely going to fight again before the end of the year. I'm getting healthy. I'm healing up the little bumps and bruises that I have, from 2 fights in a month. So I'll get back in there at the end of the year, and I'm definitely going to get back in the win column, no doubt. I'll train so hard, and it won't even matter.
Is there any injuries you've got to get over?
A Sunsao is a fight that I like, but there's a ton of guys at the top, and there's a lot of guys coming up that want a number next to their name that are tough, fights that I can see myself getting into. There's so many talented guys at bantamweight. It's fucking insane. I mean, there's such a deep talent pool. I'm number 9 in the world, and all the way to 20. Every single one of those guys is good. Right now, bantamweight's the deepest division in the UFC, so any fight's a good fight for me.
So there's a lot of talk about the number 1 contender at bantamweight at the minute. Personally, I think it's Sterling. Who do you think it should be?
I agree. I think Aljamain Sterling is honestly, I think he's the best guy in the world. I'm surprised he wasn't fighting Peter Yan for the title in the first place.
Yep.
Peter Yan is obviously no slouch either. He's going to be a tough guy to beat. But he takes a lot of damage in fights too. And that's not really the greatest way to fight. I mean, I've been in there with Aljamain Sterling, and I know how hard he is to hit. I know how elusive he is, and how good of a grappler he is. He's probably the best grappler at bantamweight, really. Yeah. Maybe not the best wrestler, but definitely the best overall jiu-jitsu grappler. Definitely not an easy guy to deal with. And I think he's gonna give a lot of guys a lot of problems. You know what I mean? I mean, he's beaten everybody. And now he's finishing guys in the first round. You know what I mean? He keeps getting better, so I definitely think he's the best guy in the world. And I think Peter Yan's going to be a tough test for him.
Yeah. So, do you watch many UFC cards, or when you're not fighting?
I watch every single fight.
Yeah.
Top. Yeah.
So,
I'm a big, you learn a lot when you watch. You know what I mean? Everybody's got some cool, slick thing that they do that you can kind of pick up on.
Yeah. So, did you watch the Max Holloway Alex Volkanovski fight?
I did. And Max won 3-2. I thought it was pretty obvious he won 3-2. But I feel like the judging that night was pretty bad overall. So that's a problem. That's a reoccurring theme in MMA.
Yeah.
Judges that are looking at a fight with blinders on. They don't really understand the whole game. They don't necessarily know what's going on. I think the only solution is to have ex-MMA fighters judging fights, guys that really understand like when someone's hurt, when someone's not hurt, what shots are landing, what shots are being blocked. A lot to it that I feel like the judges just haven't caught up to yet.
Have you ever heard of Verdict MMA?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it, but I'm not too sure because obviously bringing everyone around the world involved in it can bring into some sort of controversy around it.
I like that concept a lot, but it's going to be hard to. It's gonna take some time before the judging really evolution of the sport. It's going to be tough. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. So do you remember the first fight you watched?
Versus Mike Brown. That was first fight. Faber, is a guy that he was kind of like the big first superstar of the smaller weights. Kind of OG of the smaller weights for sure. Obviously Hall of Famer, tons of wins. A guy that I think a lot of people, including myself, looked up to for a long time. So that was like, one of the first fights I watched, and that's really where I kind of fell in love with the sport. Yeah.
So I got a few questions from your fans now. So where do you see yourself in this time next year?
Well, I see myself with a little bit lower number next to my name, and that much closer to being the world champion.
Okay. And how do you structure your camps? Meaning in like what sort of stuff you do and when you do it?
Just a balance between striking, grappling, and strength conditioning, and then weight management.
Okay. What's your favorite part of training?
Probably the stand-up training or sparring. Definitely the funnest part of it.
How do you deal with a loss of someone so well?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How do you deal with a loss of someone so well?
Dealing with a loss, you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a loss is two things happen when you lose. It either absolutely breaks you, or you go back and you self-assess, you reevaluate where you were mentally and physically, and you make changes and you get better. You know what I mean? I think I'm always the kind of guy that, when I fall down, I come back even better. I've done that consistently throughout my career. After my first loss, I won the next 10. After my last loss, I had 3 big wins. Nothing changed. That didn't break me. That's another fight that I know that I could win. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just about getting back on the horse and getting back in the gym and fixing my mistakes and just being better.
So, what's your favorite post-workout meal?
Post-workout meal. I mean, I'm a big guy, so I got to cut a lot of weight. So I eat a lot of salad. A lot of salad. Southwest salad is like my go-to.
I'll add to that one.
After a fight?
Yeah.
Meal after a fight? Oh God, anything I get my fucking hands on. I eat everything. Absolutely everything. I've been on a bender right now, just eating absolutely everything I can find in Las Vegas. But that ends. Today's my last day, so tomorrow it's gonna be a salad.
Yeah, last day of freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So do you think you can beat Sugar Sean O'Malley?
Yeah, of course. I'll break that guy.
And last one, what's next for Cody?
Well, it's just about getting back in the gym, getting that weight under control, and continuing my campaign to be the best in the world. This doesn't change anything. Losing to one of the best guys in the world on short notice, sucks. I fucking hate losing, but losing's always motivated me to be a better athlete, and to get more focused and be more disciplined. And that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Do you think your next fight's going to be at featherweight then?
No, my next fight will definitely be at bantamweight.
And what time roughly do you reckon you'll be back in there? Obviously, it depends on the UFC as well.
I'm thinking November, December. That's probably when I'll get back in there.
Okay, nice. Well, that's all from me, mate.
All right, buddy. Thank you.